Hey guys, we're gonna make chicken Alfredo tonight, as promised, and I'm gonna show you how to prep our chicken, how to cook that off, how to make a really easy Alfredo sauce, and we're gonna put it all together. I'm also gonna do a ham version because my wife is a big fan of ham, so stick around. All right, guys. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with a dredge for your chicken. This is not a measurement. I'm just using this to grab flour out. This is just all-purpose flour. I don't know, maybe it's a half a cup. You can put whatever you want in this. It's not that critical. I'm going to use some garlic powder and some Old Bay. And you can see I'm not measuring it. I don't really care. It's not the point. Just don't kill anybody with overdoing it. So I'm using Old Bay, some garlic, and I'm going to grab some salt from behind me. Maybe salt's the most important part. This is probably about a teaspoon. I don't know, maybe I'll do another half teaspoon. All right, like I said, this is not critical. What this is going to do is just give us a layer so that when we put our chicken in the pan, it's going to give us like a nice little outside crust. So we're going to let that go. We got our pan heating up and chicken. So I've got a couple of chicken breasts here, and I'm going to drop these guys into my dredge. Pray they fit in the pan. I'll toss this. And safe food handling procedures. Wash my hands after every step, especially touching raw chicken. So every phase. Okay, so I've been heating this up the whole time. If you don't have stainless, that's not a problem. Just don't overheat your pan if it's not stainless. Be careful of that. So once it's up to temperature, it should be, I'm going to go with some oil. It really doesn't matter if it's vegetable oil or olive oil. It's not going to matter. And we're going to get this airtight, shake it up, and we should have pretty well coated chickens. All right. We're heated up. And what I want you to do, make sure you're coated. Make sure you're not sprinkling flour everywhere. That's a good coat. And we're just going to lay this in away from ourselves. Pan's still hot. Make sure you keep your heat up. Again, you want to make sure you lay this away from you.
Why is that?
Just so it doesn't splatter on you. Hot oil does not feel good. All right, and we're going to let those go. They're going to probably go for, I'd say, a good 10, 12, maybe 15 minutes aside. So chicken's going right now. I want you to notice, we've knocked our heat back a little bit. I'm using gas heat. If it's using electric heat, probably going to keep it around medium-high once you get going, or medium. You don't want to get it too hot. If you start to see some burning spots, like right in here, don't worry about that too much, but just don't let that get away from you. If it starts to blacken, you're going to have a problem. You don't want to waste your chicken. You can lift it up. You can see it's looking pretty nice. So while that's going, and I do suggest using tongs if you have them. If not, you can just use a spatula. Just be careful, hot oil. So what we're going to talk about is parsley. Parsley's cheap. It's like $1.49 for this big bushel here. And we can get a tremendous amount out of this. We're not going to use it all tonight, and we're not going to use it all tonight. We can cut up all of it, and we can store a lot of it in their freezer just by putting it in some oil. That's one way you can preserve it. Other option, if you have it, dry parsley works just fine. It's got flavor. It'll do just the same, no big deal. It's just a lot of times getting a big thing of parsley like this, or even a smaller one, is a lot more expensive than the $1.49 you get for the fresh. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, I'm making this for my wife too, so we're gonna do ham. And I just got a ham steak here. If I can open it. Never trust you can open it on the first try. There it is. So this is about, I don't know, about a ½ inch thick. And do remember, so far, nothing's touched my cutting board. Although I just touched my face, so I'm gonna wash my hands. But nothing's touched our cutting board, meaning like no raw chicken, no nothing, it's still clean. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and cut this ham, which is already cooked on it. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna make these into cubes. So, a little trick here. Whenever you're cutting with a knife, if you haven't been taught this, big knife, small knife, you want to always have the knife back up to your knuckles, okay? You probably see people cutting all the time. You might not know what's going on back here. What they're doing is they're using the knuckles as a guide. So I can turn it this way and you can see. My knuckles form a guide for the blade. And that's how you actually cut safely. So when you see somebody going through like a carrot at 1,000,000 miles an hour, that's how they're doing it. And so we're just gonna cut this up. And we're gonna save this for later. So all I'm gonna do with all of it is basically just get some cubes like this. And that's gonna be the basis for our ham. If we wanna do it with ham, or we can, like I said, we're gonna be doing it with chicken for you guys. And I think for my kids. So this will, we'll set this aside, put it in the refrigerator until we need it. So we're going to start cooking off pasta now. So typically what you do with Alfredo is fettuccine. Fettuccine is a broad noodle, yay broad. It's probably about the same thickness as that ham actually. And here comes my son. So here's another option. They're called nests. To buy this tube is a lot cheaper probably than buying this box of pasta, but no, like value-wise, this is significantly less pasta in total. But if you see it, if you want to cook it, and it's it's a reasonable thing, you get a nest. It's about that big. If you look between my fingers, one of those serves like a grown person pretty well. So if it's like you and your grandma you're making it for, 2 of those and you're more than covered. But we're going to do these tonight. This is probably what you're going to find more often in a store. It's real easy to find these. It doesn't have to be Barilla. It doesn't matter. So we're going to do this pasta. I figure this is most common. So we've got our water boiling over here. I'm going to add some salt to it. See how that goes off? That's actually because you're lowering the boiling temperature of your water. And that's a little spritz of oil. Not totally clear if oil is totally necessary. I'm going to eyeball this. This is going to be for a family of 4. I'm going to say, yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit more than that. And actually, if we have some left over, pasta is one of those things that will stay in the refrigerator pretty well, so no big deal. Normally, this kind of pasta is going to be too long. A lot of people break it in half. I don't like to. So if you just fan it out like this, it might be a little warm up here. It's not that hot. Don't worry about it. If you're scared about it, grab some utensil and just kind of push it down. Eventually, you're going to be able to get it all into that water, okay? Now, another thing. This box says that this must cook for 12 minutes. I don't give a hoot. Follow your gut. You're just going to test the noodles every couple minutes after about 6 or 7 minutes, and you want to pull them out when they're al dente. What's al dente? It's when you kind of think to yourself, man, this will be done in like 1 minute. That's al dente. So just pull them off at that point. So you can see my noodles are all submerged in here. Mostly submerged in here. Get in there, little guys. Go, I'll get in there. And one of the benefits of putting that oil in is that should keep them from clumping too much. But I'm going to keep a fork over here just to try to keep spreading them around so they don't get too bunched up. They're fine. They'll still cook if they're bunched up, but they don't cook evenly. So I would suggest trying to stir them around. So again, I'm going to let these go for probably about 5 or 6 minutes before I even worry about it. And next thing, we're going to do our parsley, okay? So parsley, we're going to rinse it, okay? We're going to rinse it all, but I'm not unbundling it. I'm not taking it off from this. I'm going to leave this on. I'm going to rinse it as well as I can. This is not the final cleaning, okay? I repeat, this is not the final cleaning. You will laugh when I show you how you do that. Okay, get rid of as much water as we can. And let's go back to our cutting board. Now, here's where that knuckle thing really matters, okay? I'm going to take all of this and bunch it up as much as possible. Now, if you're not as fast as me at this, or faster than me at this, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. The main thing is we don't want to cut ourselves, because that's going to ruin a lot of parsley. And we don't want to cut a tremendous amount of the stem. So if you notice, I'm kind of working my way around it like that, and I'm trying to stay clear of this guy. Okay, once I've done that, if you see any long stems, just toss it away. Now, what I'm doing here, you will never do to an herb called basil. You will never do this to an herb called cilantro. You will only do this to parsley and things like parsley that are extremely hardy. So I can beat the snot out of this, and I am by cutting it like this. I'm really not being very nice to the parsley. It really doesn't care. That's the nice thing. A sharp knife helps. If you really don't have a knife to do this with, you can probably, if you have like some sort of like little rotary tool, something like that you can do it with, like a little mixer that's got a cutting blade, that'll work.
Can you use scissors?
You can use scissors. It's not great because you're gonna have a hard time getting it finely cut, but you could definitely do a broad cut that way. Yeah, that's a perfect idea. So, all right, and you can see this is pretty finely chopped. I mean, it's not infinitesimally small, but it's small. So, see how my pasta's doing here. And again, like I said, Alfredo can be any kind of pasta. Alfredo is the sauce. It's just you're most commonly associated with fettuccine, but it can be any of them. Also note here, I'm using the same tongs that I used with that chicken, and I flipped that raw chicken, and you'd think, oh, but it's raw. It is, but I've got boiling water here, so I'm not that worried, at least at this stage. Now, I'm not going to touch it again, likely, unless I grab a clean pair of tongs, but just an FYI in case you were trying to figure that out. So, here, this will make grandma cringe. This will make my wife cringe, but this is what we do. We take this. Like I said, we did not get a really great cleaning on that. We got a good cleaning, but not a great cleaning. So we're going to bunch it up. Okay, I'm just going to create a pocket here. So I've got my bunch of celery here. I want to make sure I do not have anything pointing out the side, meaning no holes pointing out the side. Okay, go to the kitchen sink, and I'm going to run water through it. And what I'm doing over here, let me see if I can show you. I'm just pushing on the bottom. I'm moving it around. You can see it's green water coming out. Okay. You're not washing off the parsley, you're just washing off any kind of residual dirt and nastiness. Okay, do that a little bit, and here's how we're going to get it dry. I've kept that knot the whole time, that's not changed. I'm going to squeeze out the water, squeeze out the water. Just keep squeezing the life out of it. Now you do want to make sure you don't take like your best towels to do this. You want a towel that can take this, because even if you're not that strong, you can rip this off into a ball of cloth. So once you've got it really tight, squeeze it down, you should get the remnants of the water out. And then from there, let's go ahead and rinse this off, since we said this was not perfectly clean the first time. I will say, while we've been doing this, all this other stuff away from the chicken, I've dropped the temperature on that chicken, so it's moving at a much slower pace now. I also have a lid on it to help it out. Now, if you want to look at this up close, you're going to see this is almost dry. And it's nice, finally, you can kind of see how small it is there. And you get an idea. There are some big pieces, but it's okay. So that's your parsley. Now this, you probably want to wash without things that are green. I mean, without things that are white. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna probably guess actually, I'm not gonna guess. I have no idea how long this has been going. Okay, that's got like a few more minutes. It's hard. When I bite it, it's like I'm biting into something that's got like a cardboard center. So we got a ways to go. We can check, however, on our chicken. At this point, chicken's looking pretty good. All right, so here's a couple ways you can check for doneness, okay? One, you can press test, okay? If if you push down on it, the amount that it bounces back gives you an idea of how done it is. If you press down on your heel, on the heel of your hand, like right about here, that's going to give you a pretty good idea of like a medium well, okay? So if it feels like that, probably still got a ways to go. This is just getting there. So what I'll do, and I do this with a tongue all the time, I'm going to come straight through. I'm going to grab the biggest piece, okay? I'm going to come straight through and just look and pull back right here. You can see, I don't know if you can see, I can see. You can see it's cooked through, okay? So with that, we're gonna let that coast. It's done. It's done its thing, okay? So we're just gonna let it sit there for a little bit. Actually, might as well take it and let it start to cool off. It's a really big chicken breast. And because I like stuff like this, I'm gonna save this off into something else. Who knows if we might end up using it for something later. All right, now I want to go ahead and start letting my pan cool off at this point because I'm gonna use that same pan when I do my Alfredo sauce. Surgery. Getting there. Gonna take our pasta off. So one thing to note, I've been drying my hands with this towel. This towel's got some moisture to it. That, if I touch these hot handles with that, I'm gonna burn myself. So I've grabbed a dry towel. If you don't have pot handles, if you have pot handles, that's safer, but this is just old restaurant trick. Grab a towel, double, triple it up, and we're going to safely carry this over, pour it into our colander. And here's a couple tricks. If you think in your tasting of your pasta that you overdid it and it's like really kind of mushy, hit it immediately with ice water. As fast as you can get ice and water into this as quick as possible, do it. It's going to shock the pasta and stop it from cooking. I brought this off al dente. It's not like completely done. It's mostly done. I might hit a little shot of water on it, but I'm not really worried about trying to cool this down too much. But I do want it to kind of slow down what it's doing. And very hot at the bottom. Be careful doing what I'm doing. I've also washed dishes in restaurants for a number of years, so stuff doesn't always hurt me that might hurt somebody else. And I'm just gonna take this. That hurt me. And put it back in my pot, let it sit on the back of the pot. Because this pasta is still warm, it's going to likely clump if we don't get a little bit of oil on it. So a little oil on it, just going to mix it up like that, okay?